This is how to do a disc brake job on a 2006 Subaru Impreza. Alright, so now we're going to use an impact and a 19mm socket to take off all the lug nuts and take off all four wheels. We'll need to take off all four wheels so that we can bleed them later on. So now we're going to take off the bracket bolts. Now we're going to get the bottom side of the bracket bolt as well. And with that, we can take off the caliper, and we'll just set that to the side here, just somewhere. You might need a hanger for this, but now we're going to take off the rotor, and we'll take that over to the brake lathe. So now that you have your rotor, you want to bring it over here, and you want to get a spacer that fits just about like that. So now we're just going to put that spacer right in there, and we're also going to put a spring in there as well. Now we're going to get a small spacer and put it right there in the center. You can see how that fits nicely. And we'll just put that right by the spring, and we'll put the rotor on as well. Now you just want another really big spacer like this, and just plop it in. Now we're going to get our long spacer, and that just makes enough room to put the nut in. And then we'll just tighten that in. So now we're going to take the adjustment, we're going to plop it out like that, and then we're going to unscrew the nut just so that it's loose. You can see how it moves up and down. It also moves side to side. I already have it set, so I'm not going to move it side to side. Then you just retighten the bolt, and you put the adjuster back in. Now we're going to move the machine forward. And we'll just put that kind of in the middle there. And we're going to loosen both of these screws here, and this will make it easier and allow us to move the machine forward. So you can see how I have it really close. I don't have it touching, however. Don't make it touch when it's not on yet. Just have it somewhat close. Now we should be good to turn on the machine, which is going to spin the rotor naturally. And I like to turn on lights just so I can see a little bit better when I'm cutting. Now we are very slowly going to inch the cutter closer. You can see how slow I'm doing it. And as soon as it hits, I'm going to back it off, and I'm going to re-put it in there just to win just where it's touching. And I'm going to zero that off just like that on the machine so I can tell how much I'm cutting. And I'll do that on the other side. Zero that off. Now we are going to switch it to millimeters instead of inches, and I'm going to move the machine closer. I just want to cut off 0.05 millimeters. So that's what I have it set to. See me slowly moving it there. Make sure it's very slow. Now we're going to tighten these screws here so it doesn't go anywhere. Now we are going to move the machine closer all the way right before the rest right there. Now we're going to put in our anti-chatter tool and put in the Velcro all the way around that. Now we're going to change our dial to 1 cut pass on the feed rate. And we're going to move our switch to disc because this is a disc brake. And as you can see here, the machine is automatically moving backwards. So then it'll cut, and we can just close the lid. And after just like 5 minutes of just letting it sit, it should be good. So now we'll take out the anti-scatter tool, moving the Velcro. Now we have to clean using a little scrub on the impact on both sides. I just sped through it so you can't really see it well. Now we'll turn off the dial from this to off and back off the machine. Now we are good to turn it off and just disassemble the same way you reassembled. And now we can clean the inside of the rotor.
Alright, so here we have our caliper. These are the caliper slide pins. We're going to go ahead and loosen these, and once you got them loose, you're going to want to pull them out, just like that. And these will just loosen, like so, and you'll pull it out. Caliper one piece and the bracket with the pads in the other. Then before you get that out, you want to flip it out and take out the pads just like that. With this specific bracket, they will be just kind of sitting there. Then you're going to grab your ratchet and loosen the brake line bolt. You'll have these two copper washers. You're going to want to replace them or clean them up. Then you're going to torque that back once you replace it to 17 foot-pound. Alright, then we have our caliper brake grease here. We're doing the caliper slide pin. Lubricate that up good. Make sure it'll slide freely. Then we have our pads back placed in our bracket. Go ahead and insert that pin. And then you can go ahead and mount the bracket and caliper back together and place it back on the rotor when that's done spinning on the brake lathe. And once you have that pin reinserted, you're going to go ahead and replace your caliper bolts. And you're going to torque those to 27.5 foot-pounds. Make sure you go ahead and torque them both. Okay, now that you got your rotor back, you're going to want to slide that on and go ahead and get your caliper and bracket ready to be reinserted. There's these two caliper retaining bolts, the bracket bolts that you want to go ahead and get started, then tighten them down and torque those both to 35 foot-pounds. And now we're going to start bleeding the brakes. We're going to hold the pedal down like this and release it. When we do that, we're going to loosen the bleeding screw, letting fluid and air flow through, making sure we get all the air out of the system so that the brakes function properly. And when you start bleeding the brakes, you always want to make sure you start furthest from the master cylinder or the steering column driver's side. So here we are. We did the you want to do the rear passenger side first, then rear driver, then front passenger, and then front driver. And as you can see here, we're getting a nice good stream of brake fluid, meaning the brakes are properly bled and there's no air in the system. And then we're gonna want to replace the brake fluid that we lost and refill it at the reservoir. There you can see it's full. Now we're going to go ahead and put the tires back on and replace the lug nuts. You're going to want to start the lug nuts by hand, and once you get them started, you're going to want to tighten them up with either a ratchet or an impact. Once the vehicle's on the ground, you're going to want to torque it to 90 to 100 foot-pounds.